Good morning. Good afternoon for people on the East Coast and Europe. I'm here with Taylor Matthews as part of the Cota Access one-on-one series, where we work to provide input and insight from entrepreneurs that we work with as part of Cota Capital. Taylor is the CEO of a company in our portfolio called Farther, and we're here to talk about how Farther is revolutionizing wealth management. Taylor, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Great to be here.
Great. So maybe as a way to get started, you could talk a bit about Farther, how you came to the idea and what it looks like today.
Sure. All right. I'll do this. I pulled together just a couple slides. I promise not to bore folks too much with this, but I figure it might help set the stage. So just a little bit of background. So prior to founding Farther, I was working in another fintech company in their retirement space, the 401k industry. And I just had this tremendous vantage point over there running the advisory side and account management for about 25,000 people, ranging from baristas at Blue Bottle Coffee to executives at WeWork and pretty much everybody in between. And I could see where innovation was happening in the space and where it wasn't. And one of the insights that I had was that we saw just tremendous innovation in wealth management on the getting started side. So I'm sure everybody here knows all of the neobanks, the robo advisors, point solutions, just about everything. All of that was, just a blossoming of innovation in the last decade. But where it kind of stopped was where folks raised their hand and started looking for a financial advisor. Because then you go from an interface that's primarily, consumer tech and feels really good to, the phone and the email. It's like stepping back in time. And it's even worse for financial advisors. If you think about what the tools that they have to manage are. To put it into context, about 60% of an advisor's time is spent on administrative processes, admin, ops, compliance burden, things like that. So there seemed to be a huge opportunity there. And along the way, I met my co-founder, Brad, who was a wealth manager at Goldman and also is an engineer by training. And he had first started by building a bunch of technology for himself to make him more efficient, and was eventually pulled out of that individual contributor role and given a huge purview to do that for all of private wealth management at Goldman. And we started talking, and we thought that maybe the right way to do things was actually to build from scratch, to build on modern technology rails, so you get over a lot of the tech debt that ends up holding you back when you try and build at a larger firm. So that was kind of the founding of Farther, was the insights that both of us had at our two jobs that touched this industry. And where we are now, well, what we're trying to do is to augment financial advisors, to make them to use technology to allow them to run a whole lot faster than they otherwise would. And if we do that well, then they're able to grow their books much faster, because if you're much more efficient with your time, that means that you have more seats on the plane, so to speak. You can scale yourself a little bit better and ultimately grow a bigger book of business and deliver more value to more people.
And Taylor, when you started talking to advisors as you created Farther, what were they telling you were the shortcomings of the existing platforms that are out there?
It's I think the biggest challenge is actually interfacing with it's doing all the things that you can't do outside of the like when you are dealing with a custodian. It's really challenging because you're almost always mired in paperwork. Now, I'm just going to get to this in just a second, but like Daniel here is a good example of this. He's at Wells. He was a financial advisor there. He was on a team that was doing tremendously well. He was set up for success. Everything looked good from the outside, but from the inside, what he had to face on a daily basis was just a ton of paperwork, chasing accounts, account opening documents, signing things on paper, getting wet signatures, following up on hot processes, not being able to market in the ways that he really wanted to. And if you add on to that the fact that the bank wanted him to sell different things and maybe were ideal for his clients, it just didn't feel like a good experience for him or for his clients. So coming over to Farther, a whole lot more freedom to approach his business the way that he ideally would like to, but also a whole lot more time to focus on the right things that help him grow his business. So since he's come over to Farther, he'll end up finishing the year about doubling his business every year. That's a tremendous, jump for him as an individual and for the business that he's trying to build.
So a big part of what Farther is really streamlining the back office functionality that Daniel had to interact with when he was at his previous platform.
That's right. Most of that back office stuff can and should be accomplished by a robot. At the end of the day, that's there's just an awful lot of paperwork of just historical industry stuff that you should be able to shift to a computer. And if you build that infrastructure layer on modern Rails, then you get the opportunity to do that. And then from an advisor's perspective, that's great. It's also great from a client's perspective, because then the advisor can focus on delivering more to their clients. They can be in front of their clients for more time, but they also can benefit from, let's say, automations that enhance the ability of an advisor to deliver more for the client as well. So things like, taking cash management and pre-made decisions that you might have in a financial plan that you put together and turning those into a dynamic, constantly adjusting sort of plan, executable finance effectively, as opposed to just a static document that ends up sitting on your desk. And it doesn't hurt that because we're much more efficient, we can pass on some of those efficiencies to our advisors and end up paying them more either.
And give us a sense for Farther. How many advisors do you have? What kinds of accounts are you serving? What kinds of families are you serving?
Sure. I'm just going to flip to this side. So right now we have about 30 advisors on the team. I think it's probably a little bit more than that. We added 5 or 6 this month. So we're growing quickly. And from the types of clients that they serve, just for more context, we grow by adding advisors to our team. And when they come over to the team, they bring their clients with them. So that means that we inherit clients from all sorts of different backgrounds. Some of our advisors are very focused on, say, the top end of the market, entrepreneurs and business owners who have exited, who have achieved significant liquidity events, and are now looking to safeguard and continue growing that wealth into the future. Others are more focused on the up and coming. So professionals that are maybe in that asset accumulation phase of their lives. Really ranges. So I'd like to think that we're a platform that can accommodate a good number of different types of client profiles with a good number of different types of advisors as well. And it's working. We definitely have seen a just kind of uptick in the types of advisors that are being attracted to the platform. I think we continue to see extremely capable folks expressing interest and in fact joining Farther and really running their businesses a little bit more efficiently.
It's a great segue. I'd love to ask you the question. So what do advisors look like when they're changing firms? What gets them to move?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of different things. The biggest ones, I think, at the core of everything, they want a good client experience. At the end of the day, their business is built around their clients. If your institution is getting in the way of delivering that, or forcing you to push proprietary products that maybe don't make so much sense, or disintermediating you from your clients, all of those are big frustration points. The other frustration points tend to be around all of that ops and admin stuff. It's really challenging if you have to spend 60% of your time on stuff that you don't want to do. Most advisors get into the business to advise clients. They want to spend their time in front of clients and prospects. They want to spend their time at building a book of business and delighting the folks that depend on them. When you provide a little bit more opportunity to do that, do more of what you love, do less of what you don't, deliver a great client experience in the process, and to top it all off, get paid more. It's a pretty compelling value prop.
Right. And so if that's the individual advisor decision loop, talk about the industry context here for a moment. What's going on in the wealth management space among advisors and their clients? It seems like it's a critical moment in reshaping the future of the industry.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody has probably seen some graph about the great transfer of wealth that's going to happen. It's trillions upon trillions of dollars that's going to pass from the boomer generation and their parents to Gen X and Gen Y, eventually Gen Z. All of that is very much in the background. We feel it every day. We see advisors, facing those challenges and managing inheritances and things like that. That's one piece. Maybe the bigger piece and the more acute challenge that the industry is feeling right now is that the average age of an advisor is about 60 years old. So that means that not only is all that wealth going to be transferred, but it's not going to be transferred to the same cast of characters. So we're very much in a position where a different set of advisors is going to end up running all of that wealth, and they have different expectations than maybe the folks who have been running their practices in the same way for 20 or 30 years. Those folks may not be all that interested in changing things up, and they probably have something that works for them, and financial advisory can be a fairly cushy job, especially if you stop to stop focusing on growth and are more focusing on just delivery. But it's for those that are focused on growth, that want to deliver more and different to their clients, they're looking for more too. And they don't want the same interface that phone and email that has that kind of gets in the way more than anything. They want a more constant interaction with their clients. They want to be able to deliver more different types of solutions to their clients. So we're seeing lots of interest in alternative assets, for instance, as opposed to just kind of the public markets that I think have been the bread and butter of the entire industry up until now. Delivering more of that to advisors, to clients, just broadening access, I think is really important.
Got it. And it'd be great to hear more about what you think the end customers that are the recipients of the transfer of this wealth are looking for, and how farther serves that as well.
Well, I'll tell you, they're probably not looking for the mahogany furniture and a big glass office anymore. Like, not too many folks are going in for that. What they really want, they want value, like just what everybody does. They want to feel like their advisor is paying attention to them. They want communication, and that probably means more than just what just the tracked emails and phone calls that a big bank would allow. It means they just have higher expectations than I think the last generation does. So from our perspective, we want to deliver great technology, so a great interface, bringing it all together into one place for our clients, not have a bank account over here, brokerage accounts over here, documents in a drawer under your desk that you tell your spouse about and say this is where you go if anything bad happens. You want it all in one place. You want to be able to interact with other members of your wealth team in one place, CPAs, estate attorneys, whatever it happens to be, and you want I think a different level of access than has historically been enabled. And that's getting access to the same sorts of things that we see proper family offices, large family offices looking at, the private equity, venture capital, private debt, private credit. All of that is achievable now in a way that it wasn't even 5 or 10 years ago.
And that's part of your platform today.
Yeah, we're super excited about that part. We spent a lot of Q2 and Q3 building out our alts platform so that I think we have just an incredibly robust offering over there. And we've not only of lots of different types of securities that are, more accessible to the financial advisory community, but also those that I think are really unique to us. So just being able to invest in, venture-backed private companies is not something that most financial advisors are going to be able to offer their clients, but we can.
Amazing. So I thought maybe we could take a moment and go into what you learned from your decade plus of experience in the wealth management space that led you to this opportunity.
Oh, sure. Condensing a decade plus experience into an answer here might be a challenge. I think one of the, I'll tell you a story. One of the more formative aspects of I was at Fidelity for a little bit. I was a strategy consultant there in my early career. Fairly young, but I found myself in the room with some really kind of top of the house characters, and I was on a project that was geared towards providing a new product to the market at the time, as something that the entire organization was aligned to, and that we probably spent hundreds, if not thousands, of man hours of those top 50 executives or so in rolling out. And everybody was aligned. Everybody wanted to see this product launched. And I was in the room with the CTO of the asset management organization, and we identified a piece of code that would need to change. It was written in Fortran, the year that I was born, and it rooted all of Fidelity's trades. It would have to be tweaked. That scuttled the entire project, and that product wasn't launched for another 5 years. That's seeing how challenging it is to build on top of that, like the sheer amount of tech debt that large financial institutions have to manage. It's incredibly challenging for them. It's a reason why 90% of JP Morgan's budget is not on innovation. It's keeping the lights on. That meant that we really needed to build on modern rails as opposed to on, just on top of some other systems that would mire us in the same sort of situation that everybody else is in. So that, of course, meant that we had to raise, a little bit of capital to do that. And there's plenty of things that we would love to do from a, just kind of fun perspective that would be great for clients that we've had to push off a little bit because we needed to build an infrastructure layer to support what we ultimately believe is the right solution for clients and advisors alike. That's maybe one good learning point. I would say the other thing is listening is important. One of the I think in pretty much every role that I've had, folks are best served in a project that's being accomplished or a product that's being launched by listening to what the customer is saying and adapting to it. As odds are you're coming in with a specific point of view that you believe is right, but may not turn out to be quite exactly what you wanted. When we started Farther, I think we had this idea that we were going to be able to do a little bit more from a direct consumer perspective and generate spend more time generating leads for advisors. And when we looked at where our advisors were actually drawing their business from, well, it turns out that it was pretty similar to where historically advisors have drawn their business from. 70% is referrals. It's other clients, it's centers of influence in the industry, CPAs, state attorneys, folks like that. So rather than fight against that and focus on the 30%, we really doubled down and focused on the 70%, where I think in tried to enable that part to run faster, to be more efficient on delivering a better experience so you get more referrals, but also making sure that you have more opportunities to do so and can spend your time on it rather than on other things.
I think it's a great point which you raised, because I laced in your commentary was really the shift in a business model, a real significant pivot at Farther that took place. And I recall from the very earliest days what Farther's original intent was looks pretty different than what it is today. And when did you know you needed to make that change?
I think, well, just to characterize a little bit, we've always had this grand vision of impacting the wealth management space very broadly, but how we got there or how we would get there, yeah, it changed a lot. I think it really comes down to how we could. Let me back up. We started by, rather than selling software to advisors, by hiring advisors, because we wanted to be really close to what advisors actually needed to understand how we were, what we were building, how it was going to be used, and to, have folks on the team who would feel the pain if we weren't building exactly what they needed. And as it turns out, we weren't building exactly what they needed. We were spending time on, maybe other aspects of the business that we thought were, could be valuable, but turned out to be less so. But being able to listen, to move really quickly when we hear that, for instance, I'm an advisor, I can't move my clients over because I can't offer margin lending. Well, that's a real challenge that would affect pretty much, at least 30% of the advisors that we try to recruit. If we can't recruit any of those, that's a problem. It's also a bad experience for clients if they're used to that or need access to it. So we needed to, to find another solution there. We did. Same thing with alternative assets. That is a unique selling point for advisors. It's something that is still somewhat differentiating in an otherwise largely commoditized industry. Being able to hear that directly from our advisor team and respond to it, it shifted our roadmap for sure. But ultimately, it was very helpful for us, and I don't think we would have learned that or pursued it had we maybe been more at arm's length from the advisor team.
And all this happened inside of 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it seems like forever in the in startup world, but yeah, it's a relatively quick turnaround.
Yeah, I have said before, and I think it's one of the qualities which create exceptional entrepreneurs is the ability to integrate that feedback from the marketplace and shape their business model, their business plans, their hiring needs according to what they're hearing, not what they have as a preconceived notion. There are very few businesses that start out where the founder's vision is what they execute against from end to end.
Yeah, and not surprising. And I imagine that it's if you are a little bit more rigid on that, it becomes much more challenging to to adapt over time.
Nice. So tell us about the future of Farther.
Sure. Well, right now we're so we have a couple big product priorities that are in front of us. We want to continue doubling down on that infrastructure layer, and there's a bit more work that we need to do to integrate some other custodian partners fully into our network, and that allows us to more quickly and readily serve many different advisors who might want to come over. So reducing friction in joining our network is the #1 priority for us right now, and that'll remain so for a good bit. But just to pull back the curtain on like a bigger vision, once we have that, those last bits of that infrastructure layer really in really great shape, I think there's an opportunity for us to take the asset that is our technology and use it to power not just advisors who are employed by Farther, but also advisors who work at other financial institutions, including other RIAs, banks. There's lots of opportunity there. So we'll test it out, and we'll see if that's a we'll see what the market needs there. but I'm when we look at what folks are currently running on, when we hear the kind of inbound questions about when can we use this thing, it seems like there's real demand there that we're super excited to execute on, and that's a way for us to touch a very large portion of the wealth management industry.
Do you see farther getting to 1,000 advisors?
I think that's almost inevitable, man. Like 1,000 advisors doesn't even sound like an awful lot. 1,000 people isn't a lot, but what that would mean from an assets under management perspective at an average of 100 million advisors, that turns into real dollars pretty quickly. I think that we will certainly get to that point. We have a tremendous pipeline right now, and we're just getting started.
And how do you actually compete with the larger players out there and their massive marketing budgets?
We compete by being a little different. I think solving some of those frustrations that exist, especially at the larger institutions, is that our CCO likes to call it a breath of fresh air when folks come over to us. It's a very different pace that you can run at. So just enabling very entrepreneurial people. The advisor community is extremely entrepreneurial in their just kind of demeanor, so to speak. They're empowering them to do more of what they want to do anyway, rather than standing in their way. Like that alone is just a tremendous boost to what they can do. And then the marketing budgets of larger institutions, I think, they're geared towards the same things that that have driven the industry for the last 20 years. You see, big advisor teams move from one firm to another, but really all they're doing is trading one logo for a different logo. The underlying systems, the underlying problems, all those frustrations, they stick there. And institutions have to pay big dollars to get them to move that probably prohibits them from really investing where they can truly move the needle for their advisor teams and make the experience a whole lot better. So we're excited to compete. I think we do very effectively. We draw folks from wirehouses. We draw folks from independent channels. I think we're really the only option that's tech enabled that serves the advisor community in the way that the advisor community really wants to be served.
And how did the investment community overlook this opportunity?
Well, I don't know if it's overlooked. I think everybody understands that there's a lot of frustration there. But when you have a massive organization with tons of operations people, compliance people, lots of big stakeholders, and an enormous amount of tech debt that prohibits you from starting from scratch, really. It means that you're always kind of behind the 8-ball there. I think there's maybe an opportunity for us to work with some of these legacy financial institutions as well, and see if we can help them with that. We'll save that for the 3.0.
So I'll make a comment. I'll tell you what I think is the reason why investors have missed this opportunity, but there's several like it, which is that investors are often focused on the end customer as the place to insert themselves. How can they create a better experience for the end customer? And I think it's up to us and entrepreneurs to realize that there are much more complicated industry value chains out there that can be shuffled and create better experiences for everybody who participates. And some products, wealth management in particular, are inherently more effective when there is a human aspect to it, where there's a professional who's providing a customer with a guide through that experience.
I think that's an excellent point. And especially in the financial advisor space, the software that a financial advisor touches is the last bit to be updated.
Great. Taylor, thank you for coming by today. Really appreciate it. And we're very excited to be on the journey with you at Farther.
No, couldn't be more excited to work with you guys.
I'm going to end the call now. We have a legal disclaimer to flash, which provides context for the conversation here. Thanks everybody for participating today. And we look forward to seeing you all at future events, including the next Cota Access.
Thank you.